In today's video, we're going to analyze Solana and see how high its price could go during the bull run and the alt season of 2025. So, without further ado, let me tell you that this is a technical analysis, not a fundamental one. We're going to analyze Solana both against the dollar and against Bitcoin, and we'll really see if it could go beyond $300 or not. So, without further delay, let's start with the analysis of Solana against the dollar. And right now, how is Solana doing? As you know, we're going to look at the weekly chart and the long term. Okay. Solana is very close to those all-time highs we reached in 2021. And in fact, those all-time highs were broken in January 2025, which means that this is an altcoin in this case that has already recovered quite a bit. There are altcoins that are still well below their all-time highs from 2021, like Cardano, for example, or AVAX, for instance. But Solana is already way up. It's already pretty strong and has shown it to you throughout almost all of 2023. So, if you look here, we've had a correction in Solana that came right down to the 200-period moving average. And from there, we're seeing a recovery again. What can we expect at this point? Could we expect to recover the all-time high? That's the first question, right? The answer is yes, we're extremely close. Keep in mind that in an alt season, we could reach this all-time high in 2 weeks if Solana really goes for it. I think it will take a little longer, okay? But anyway, just so you know. So, it's very likely that we will recover the all-time high. Let's draw a Fibonacci from the entire drop from the all-time high up to now, okay? And we could see that an important area to keep in mind could be going up to the $516 zone, and another one, the $621 zone. We're talking, as I said, it's not the Fibonacci golden pocket, it's not the most important Fibonacci extension of all, but it is an important one from this whole correction here. But the important Fibonacci extension is this one here, which is from the previous bear market. Okay. Solana had a really tough time during the bear market. It went through an extremely rough patch and actually dropped, get this, by about 97% practically, all right? So if we draw the important Fibonacci, notice where the area we just marked is the $598 zone. It's at the 1.23% Fibonacci level. That's the minimum I would expect for Solana, the 1.23% Fibonacci zone, around the $600 area. But I think Solana has the potential could even make bigger moves, possibly reaching 1,000. Okay. Between $600 and $1,000, I would expect that, at the very least, Solana will encounter major resistance, and from there, maybe we'll hit a bit of a ceiling. We're talking about an increase of between 200 and 400%, which is not bad at all and makes it one of the best-looking coins right now. Above all, like I said, when we break through that all-time high with strength, because yes, we did have a candle above the previous all-time high, well, a wick in this case, but we didn't close above it. As soon as there are closes above $260, that's when Solana is really going to start taking off and taking off and taking off. You already know how alt seasons work, and you're seeing it these days. One coin pumps 10% one day, another coin pumps 15% the next day, and that's how alt seasons go, right? Random coins keep pumping, and that's why we have cycles. That's why we have several coins bought, like 18 or 19 of them, so that, well, when one pumps, maybe the other doesn't, but then the other one pumps, and then another one after that. And that's just how it goes. And in this case, Solana's time will come. Solana's moment will come when, as I said, I think we can go up to at least $600. But like I said, for this to go up to $600, the chart against Bitcoin has to be bullish. And for this to reach $1,000, the chart against Bitcoin has to be very bullish. Let's really see if something like that is even possible. So let's take a look at the Solana chart against Bitcoin. And the Solana chart against Bitcoin looks like this. Check it out. Okay? Here we have some good parts and some parts that are a bit more negative. I want you to see it, all right? Clearly, the support zone keeps getting higher, which means that the lows are getting higher and higher. This is really good for the chart against Bitcoin because basically it tells us that we shouldn't keep dropping since we're at a very important support level. And in fact, we're forming a kind of bottom here. If Solana against Bitcoin manages to reach the 20,000 Satoshi or 19,300 Satoshi zone, we'll break above the 200-period moving average and be ready for the next upward leg of Solana against Bitcoin. Remember, if this chart is bullish, Solana will go up more than Bitcoin. If this chart is bearish, Solana will go up less than Bitcoin. This is the key point to keep in mind. In this case, if we break above the 200 moving average, which it looks like we're going to try in the coming weeks, then Solana will go up more than Bitcoin, which is exactly what we're looking for, right? But also just a bit. But this chart also has a downside, and that is if you look here, the resistance zone is also trending down. I mean, the highs keep getting lower, but the lows keep getting higher. What this means is that we're forming a kind of triangle, a sort of consolidation triangle that could last, and pay attention to this until May 2026. I don't think it's going to last that long. Keep in mind that these kinds of patterns, like triangles, can break out at any moment once about 70% of the formation is complete. Remember, we've been forming this since 2021. That means we're already within that 70% of the formation. From now on, this triangle could break out at any moment. Which way should it break? Well, usually these are continuation triangles. We were coming from a clear uptrend, then the triangle starts, so basically it would be to break upwards. So from now on, I think it's going to take a little while, right? Solana will probably take a little while to reach these areas, but maybe in September or October, Solana could break out of that triangle to the upside and from there take off. And we're basically saying that just to reach the top of the triangle, well, Solana would have to appreciate against Bitcoin by 40%. And then if it also breaks out, and breaks out strongly since we've already been consolidating for 4 years, well, it could be 100, 150% more than Bitcoin. And this is basically what we're waiting for, right? If Solana reaches the top around September or so, Solana will be hitting $600. If instead of staying here, Solana manages to break out of this triangle to the upside, then $1,000 could actually happen for Solana, okay? So these are the two interesting scenarios you might want to keep in mind, especially considering the Solana to Bitcoin chart. Like I said, for me, this could break out at any moment. Obviously, it needs a few more candles to reach the top. Like I said, September, October at the very least, I think we could expect to wait until then. But anyway, there it is. That breakout would mark the beginning of the final phase of the bull run for Solana and that explosive phase we could expect. And look, I want to show you another example. What would happen, for instance, with Solana if we put in the amount of money that's currently in Ethereum? Well, in this case, if Solana managed to get all the money that's currently in Ethereum, it would basically be worth $1,036. Okay? So it's not that far-fetched for Solana to reach the $1,000 mark. All it would take is to get the amount of money that's currently in Ethereum. Again, as I've said in recent videos, this doesn't mean that Solana is going to surpass Ethereum. While Solana catches up to Ethereum's market cap, Ethereum will catch up to Bitcoin's, and Bitcoin will catch up to gold's. I'm just making this up, okay? But all the market caps are going to go up, some more than others, but they'll keep rising. It's simply about matching what's currently in Ether. Or if not, let's take a look, for example, at Ripple, which is the third largest coin by market cap. Well, it would reach $341. I think it will get a higher market cap than Ripple has right now, okay? And that it's going to settle somewhere between $600 and $1,000. Everything depends, I repeat, on the chart against Bitcoin. First, it has to break above that 200-period moving average. Second, we need to hit the resistance zone of the trend line, in this case, the $600 mark. We'll probably see that for sure. And third, if we finally break out of the triangle before the bear market arrives, it could even reach $1,000. In any case, there you have the whole analysis. So let me know in the comments what you think could happen with Solana. Do you think it could actually reach the $600 mark? Or do you think I'm totally out of my mind? Or maybe you even think it could hit $1,000? Or do you believe that's completely impossible? In any case, like I said, it's a coin that's at its all-time highs, and when it breaks those all-time highs, just like with Ether, when Ether breaks its all-time highs, things are really going to start moving. And I think there are a lot of people who aren't ready for what a real alt season is like. So yeah, we'll just have to wait a little bit, maybe a couple of months at most, and we'll probably have our answer. Alright, I'll leave the video here. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you tomorrow with more. See you soon, everyone. Bye-bye.